I Have a Bad Feeling About This by Jeff Strand. Chapter 3. What did you say? Asked Max. Nothing. Henry desperately tried to think of something that rhymed with, he can't make you do that. This isn't the military, so that he could pretend he said that instead, but nothing came to mind.
No, please, satisfy my curiosity. What did you say to your buddy?
All I said was that, we're not in the army. This is survival camp. We're paying you, right, to teach us skills and stuff. So the drill sergeant thing is fun and all. I'm not saying you should quit doing it, but you can't really force us to do push-ups until we puke. Max's gaze did not waver. Henry suspected that the thought process going through his mind was not,
Gosh, perhaps this youngster is right. Tell me, son, said Max, how far away are we from the rest of civilization right now?
Very.
So what makes you think I won't just kill you where you stand?
Well, I mean, we all know that you're not actually going to kill me, right? I have a lot of dumb fears. You can ask anybody. And I'm not trying to say that you couldn't kill me if you tried. I'm sure you could. But it would never occur to me to worry that you were going to take an actual human life. That doesn't make any sense. Not when you're trying to run a business. I totally understand that you were exaggerating. But even if you just threatened to beat me up, you wouldn't do that. You'd lose your license, right? Henry was sort of impressed by his own bravery. He was a completely new person. Maybe survival camp had done its job already, and he could go home. He glanced over at Randy, who didn't look like he agreed that there wouldn't be a murder today. Max cracked his knuckles. Each crack sounded like a cannon going off. Henry suddenly felt significantly less courageous. Crap, he was going to freaking die. Why didn't real life have a restore function so he could take back the last 30 seconds? I'm sorry, Henry said.
No, don't apologize, said Max. You're right, I can not kill you or hit you. All I can do is make your accommodations less comfortable. That's all, nothing more. Less comfortable accommodations.
Really, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I think your testosterone level is contagious.
Less comfortable accommodations, Max repeated. Not a big deal. You'll barely notice the difference. It's not something to worry about. Please, don't let your stress over what I mean by less comfortable accommodations ruin such a lovely day.
Henry felt sick to his stomach. He definitely preferred the noisy Max to the sinister one.
Do not apologize again. Apologies are for the weak. When the power finally goes out for good and the looters have broken through your front door and you're out of bullets. Saying you're sorry is a good way to get the machete in the face. Jackie, you may stand back up now.
Jackie, who had only done a half a push-up, stood up and returned to his place in line. Max picked up Jackie's sock, dropped it into the wooden floor, and then stomped on it several times with his heavy boots. Jackie let out a progressively more pain whimper with each stop. Yeah. Max picked up the sock and shook the iPhone pieces out onto Jackie's cot. Then he folded his arms over his chest.
Here's what you wormy maggot slugs need to understand. I have to reimburse Jackie for that stupid phone now. I knew that's why I was breaking it, and I have a very limited income. But I don't care. Those few seconds of destruction were worth it to me. And I may just decide that the crunch of a bone is worth having your parents file a lawsuit. So when I tell you to do something, you do it. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, said everybody, especially including Henry.
Do not expect luxury during your stay. The showers will be cold. The food will be disgusting. There is only one thing in the entire world that I truly fear, and that is the outhouse you will be using. Don't expect to find the bunny soft, fluffy toilet paper that you got at home. This stuff hurts. Are there any questions?
No, sir, said the boys.
Good. Now I will give you 2 minutes. This is 120 seconds. Exactly half of 4 minutes to finish getting yourself settled in. When you hear the bell, report to the other building for lunch. Got it?
Yes, sir.
But first, Henry, drop to the floor and give me push-ups until you puke.
It only took 9. This isn't so bad, said Henry, chewing on a carrot that had the texture of a gummy worm. Yeah, said Jackie, taking a bite of his crunchy bologna sandwich. From the way he's talking, I thought it would be a lot worse. The tall and gawky kid, Stu, took a drink. Nobody could quite tell if it was regular milk or chocolate milk, but the general consensus was that it was probably milk. I've had worse. Eric poked at his cherry cobbler. It had been sizzling when it was put on a tray 5 minutes ago, and it hadn't stopped yet. The tip of his fork was starting to melt, but it was plastic, not metal, so they weren't too concerned. Henry had not yet worked up the nerve or the appetite to unwrap the 3 foil-covered items on his plate. Strongwood Survival Camp did not have a chef. Max had made their lunch, though he explained that they would be dividing up those duties for future meals. The other 4 boys had gone down their lives with the trays and received their food, but Max had calmly said, "Here's something special for you," when it was Henry's turn. Just open them, Randy urged. Do it, said Eric. It's not like he's going to poison you. If he wanted to kill you, he'd just rip your neck open. Henry sighed. One of the items was vaguely circular, one was vaguely cylindrical, and the other might have been a foil-wrapped starfish. Fortunately, none of them were moving. You'll be sorry if you don't, said Jackie. You barfed up all your nutrition. I'm not hungry. What you should do is think of all the most horrible things they could be, and then when you open them, they won't seem so bad. Okay, said Randy, playing along. That long one could be a tongue with hair on it. Do you really think that helps? Asked Henry. Unwrap it. Henry pulled away enough of the foil to reveal whatever was inside had at least one eye. He closed the foil and pushed back his chair. I'm done. What was it? Asked Stu. You can have it. Thanks. Stu picked up the object and unwrapped the foil. It's a fish head, like in that song about fish heads. Here, catch. He tossed it to Henry, who missed on purpose, but probably would have missed on accident too. The fish head landed on the floor, and an alarming number of ants were swarming on it before Henry could blink. Stu grabbed the other 2 items off of Henry's plate. Let's see what the other ones are. He unwrapped the star-shaped one. Each point contained a dead beetle, and the middle contained a bigger dead beetle. That's pretty gross, said Stu. Though not as gross as the head. We should have opened the beetles first, so there was an escalation in grossness. Henry shrugged. I'm kind of disappointed, to tell the truth. Beetles? Really? He thinks he's going to break my spirit by serving me beetles for lunch? I watch Survivor every week. Dead beetles aren't going to freak me out. I'm honestly offended by that. Max acts like he's so big and tough, but this is something that I expect from a 3rd grader. What did he think I was going to do? Run out of here screaming, "Ew, ew, beetles, poor me." If you want to know the truth, the guy is pathetic. Flat out pathetic. If he was here, I'd laugh right in his big ugly face. Henry paused. He's behind me, isn't he? Nope, said Randy. Still in the back. Thank God. So anyway, like I was saying, beetles, that's weak. I think he's all talk. He smashed my phone, said Jackie. I think he's all talk, except for that one time when he smashed your phone. The door opened. Max walked into the room over to their table. Your lunch is on the floor, he said to Henry. I wasn't hungry, Henry informed him. In a survival situation, you maximize your food resources. If you were trapped on a desert island, starving to death, ribs about to pop through your skin, do you think you would throw a perfectly good fish head on the floor? The head isn't edible. Is that so? I don't really know, Henry admitted. Literally 0% of my life has been spent researching that. Max glared at him. Sir. I don't really know. Literally 0% of my life has been spent researching that. Sir. You can boil a fish head and make a perfectly fine soup, or you can use it to attract ants, which as we all know are a good source of protein. Was your intention to attract ants to use as a good source of protein? No, sir. Henry was not opposed to telling a lie, but he thought it was best if he didn't tell a completely transparent one. Beetles are also a good source of protein. In a survival situation, the man who eats beetles lives, and the man who says that they're icky dies. If you were lying in the middle of the forest, both legs broken, vocal cords shredded from screams that nobody answered, seconds away from death via starvation, are you telling me you wouldn't eat a beetle? Under those situations, and those circumstances, I would gobble down beetles left and right. Henry said. Max plucked one of the beetles out of the tinfoil and popped it into his mouth. He chewed noisily.
Does this disgust you?
He asked. No, I mean, it's not something I'd watch on purpose, but I've seen way worse on TV. I've seen people eat baby turtles. Baby turtles? Yeah. Max frowned.
That's not right.
I'll eat a beetle, said Jackie. He popped one into his mouth and smiled happily as he chewed. He swallowed and then ate the remaining 2 small ones. Steamed perfectly. Thank you, sir. Max pointed at Henry, getting his index finger a 16th of an inch from Henry's nose.
I am not impressed with you so far. Not at all. You need to step up your game if you want to make it through these next 2 weeks. And I hope you realize that I'm just trying to make you into a better, stronger person. And I'm not a complete monster.
He tapped the last remaining foil-covered item on Henry's plate.
Now, eat your hot dog so we can start our first training session.
Wilderness survival tip. Bear cubs may look all fluffy and fuzzy and adorable and snuggly, but if you try to hug them, you'll discover that deep inside, they're total jerks. Chapter 4.
Weapons, said Max. Weapons are a good thing. As satisfying as it is to kill something with your bare hands, that's not always practical.
The 5 boys stood outside in a clearing. On the other side of the clearing, about 100 feet away, 5 paper targets were mounted on bales of hay. Max, now wearing a heavy black vest, paced in front of them.
In a survival situation, you may find yourself encountering an individual who wishes to do you harm. That individual may be a puma operating on pure instinct or a human operating on pure evil. The one thing these 2 individuals have in common is that they both do poorly against a grenade.
Max reached inside his vest pocket and pulled out a grenade. All 5 boys took a great big step back.
A hand grenade, though deadly to our enemies, is perfectly safe to you as long as you remember to throw it. Forgetting to throw a grenade is one dumb way to lose an arm.
He pulled out the pin and just stood there. Said 3 out of 5 boys. Max continued to stand there. Was he really going to blow off his own arm just to make an educational point? After about 10 seconds, Max tucked the grenade back into his vest.
Had that been a real grenade, you would have all been hit by bone fragments. Getting hit in the eye by a shard of arm bone because you are too stupid to move out of the way is one of the least intelligent ways you can go blind. So in the future, when you see a presumably dangerous man standing there holding a live grenade, you duck and cover.
Yes, sir, said Randy.
Let's try that again.
Max reached back into his vest and pulled out the grenade. The boys dove to the ground. Henry put his hand over his head and cringed as he waited for the explosion. He waited some more. No explosion yet. The next few moments of waiting were also explosion-free. After another few moments, Henry began to suspect that there would not be an explosion.
Everybody on your feet, said Max.
Henry and the others got back up.
In a survival situation, it is important to use the information that has been provided to you. If you know that your enemy is holding a fake grenade, don't drop to the ground and act like it's going to blow up. That's just ignorant.
Sir, said Eric, how can we trust you when you say it's a fake grenade? Our enemy could be making up stories about phony grenades so that will lower our defenses. He smiled a bit at his own cleverness.
Excellent point. What if it is real grenade, and I just hadn't released the lever?
Max released the lever, which popped off the grenade and landed on the ground. Eric screamed. Randy screamed. Jackie screamed. Stu screamed. Henry fainted. Henry opened his eyes. All he saw was dirt. He rolled over. Randy was crouching over him, looking concerned. How long was I out? 3 days, said Randy. For real? No, more like 30 seconds. Henry sat up. Max, who still had all his limbs and facial features, did not look impressed with him. Henry brushed the dirt off his shirt, thinking that preserving his dignity might be a challenge. He'd never fainted before. To be honest, he hadn't even thought that people really did faint from fear. He'd always just sort of assumed that it was something that happened in the movies, but not in real life, like talking to yourself in the mirror.
Are you all right? Asked Max.
Yeah, I'm fine.
You sure? Not feeling all swoony like you've just seen Justin Bieber?
Justin Bieber, Henry said.
I hope you don't think that you earned more respect by correcting me.
Henry got to his feet. He still felt a little woozy, but forced himself to remain upright.
In a survival situation, fainting means death, Max told everybody. Do you think that if you fainted in front of the Nazis, they'd give you smelling salts and wait for you to recover? One of the simplest rules of the self-defense is that it's easier to keep your enemies at bay when you are conscious. Do you understand, Henry?
Yes, sir.
As I hope you've all noticed, this was not a live grenade. We do have live grenades, carefully locked away, and I will indeed show you how to throw them. But as Fainting Boy has proven, you're not ready yet. Instead, we will be learning archery.
He walked over to a large black bag that rested on the ground, knelt down beside it, and unzipped it. He took out a bow. Randy almost bounced with excitement.
How many of you have shot a bow and arrow before? Max asked.
Eric raised his hand.
Anybody else? Stu, Jackie, Randy, swooning Henry.
Everybody else shook their heads. Max looked disgusted.
Are you telling me that you've spent 16 years on this planet and you haven't ever shot a bow and arrow?
I'm only 13, sir, said Jackie.
Then you're excused.
I've shot arrows before, said Randy, but they had suction cups on the end, if that counts. I'm guessing it doesn't.
You know what, Randy, said Max. The bar has been set so low that I'll count that.
Thank you, sir. Max took several arrows out of the bag, set them on the ground, and then zipped the bag shut again. He picked up one arrow and stood up.
The arrows we will be using have steel tips. Steel, when shot at high velocity, will puncture flesh. This means that if you shoot yourself in the foot, you see a lot of blood. Do not shoot yourself in the foot. Do not shoot your fellow campers. If I have to take your bows and arrows away from you due to safety concerns, it will accelerate my spiral into depression, and camp life will not be pleasant. Does everybody understand?
Everybody indicated that they understood.
Mr. Fainty, before I demonstrate proper technique, I need somebody to demonstrate the incorrect way. So why don't you shoot the first arrow?
Wilderness survival tip. Rest 47 minutes for every hour that you hike. If you're hiking fast or over rough terrain, increase that number to 49. Hiking isn't any fun if your legs get tired.